I've always wondered how a digital alien actually comes to life. I mean, taking cold, hard code and basic geometry and turning it into a living, breathing creature that you genuinely care about on screen, it's kind of mind-blowing. It turns out the 3D artists who pull this off are basically modern-day digital alchemists. They take raw data and through this totally fascinating pipeline of art and technology, they spin it into pure magic. So welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the anatomy of an animated character. We're going to look at the entire journey, from wild concept art all the way through complex material builds, texturing, and right down to the final rendering polish. Whether you're a 3D artist yourself or you just love seeing how the sausage is made, this is going to be incredibly fun. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The Pixar design philosophy. 2. Imagining Elio's aliens. 3. Out-of-this-world shading. 4. Crafting the perfect eye. And finally, 5. The final polish. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the Pixar design philosophy. At Pixar, there is one golden rule. Every character's design absolutely must serve the story. They've been strictly following this since releasing Toy Story back in 1995, which, wow, is nearly 3 decades ago. Before a single polygon is even modeled, the creative team has to deeply understand the character's personality and their specific role in the narrative. This matters because it's the secret sauce that makes us actually care about a clump of pixels. It ensures that no matter how bizarre or otherworldly a creature might look, their physical design is purposeful and genuine. Moving right along to Section 2, let's look at how this applies to imagining the aliens for the movie Elio. To figure out what an alien should actually look like, Pixar didn't just lock a bunch of senior artists in a room. No way. Instead, they commissioned a study of 1,000 British kids aged 6 to 11. They literally just asked these children to conceptualize extraterrestrial life. I mean, what a brilliant way to tap into that unfiltered, limitless creativity, right? And as you'd guess, the results were wonderfully wild. The kids threw out ideas like lanky, long arms and legs, mouths totally packed with sharp teeth, slimy green skin, and pointy elf-like ears. Some even wanted them to have superpowers, like turning invisible or skin that changes color based on their mood. But honestly, my favorite stat here? 65% of the parents actually agreed with their kids' descriptions. It looks like adults are totally on board with these pointy-eared cosmic creatures too. Keiko Maruyama, the Pixar art director who had the huge task of turning these youthful ideas into a digital reality, summed up the wonder of it perfectly. She said, "It was fascinating getting to create this alien through the eyes of the children who imagined it. We can only hope we've done it justice." And, well, they definitely did. The result is this massive lineup of over 21 unique alien species, designed for the world of Elio. If you look closely, you can see how they drew inspiration from flora, fauna, and even microorganisms. It's this crazy, brilliant blend of worm-like, bird-like, and sea creature features. The goal here was to make them appealing, organic, and tactile, but without feeling like anything from Earth. They really do look completely unearthly. Okay, on to Section 3, out-of-this-world shading. So to keep these aliens from looking like standard Earth animals, the technical teams had to really push the boundaries of materials using subsurface scattering and refraction. Put simply, these are shading models that dictate exactly how light penetrates a translucent object, bounces around inside it, and bends as it comes out the other side. Think about what happens when you hold your hand up to a flashlight and your fingers glow red. That right there, that's subsurface scattering. It's so cool to see this kind of experimentation in action. The team went through dozens of material test spheres, combining refraction with long-distance subsurface scattering and throwing in some iridescence and glow. And all that testing paid off with the finished character, an alien with a stunning, glowing, glass-like head that looks like it's literally filled with a starry galaxy. But pulling off something like this beautiful, pink, bioluminescent winged character requires a highly flexible workflow. The shading artists were given informal design packets and the freedom to experiment back and forth iteratively with the design team. They got to try computationally expensive techniques, like non-homogeneous volumetric shaders or ray marching inside a space. And why does this matter to us as viewers? Because that collaborative freedom is the exact reason the final alien feels so ethereal and alive when you see it on screen. Let's zoom in a bit for Section 4, crafting the perfect eye. First up, let's break down the anatomy of a digital eye. You generally have the eye outer, which acts like the clear cornea, the sclera, or the white part, the iris, which holds the color, and the pupil, the black center. When setting this up in 3D software, artists do something super clever. They carefully cut the seams and unwrap the UV map so that the round iris actually lays out perfectly flat and rectangular on the 2D map. It's a genius little trick that makes painting those intricate iris lines 1,000 times easier later on. Once they move into Substance Painter, the workflow gets highly structured. Step 1, enable translucency so that the eye outer actually acts like glass. Step 2, drop the roughness all the way down to 0 for those glossy, wet reflections. Step 3, and hey, this is absolutely crucial, when baking your mesh maps, you've got to turn down the ambient occlusion intensity. If you don't, fake shadows will bake right onto the eye and totally muddy up those bright, vibrant Disney-style colors. Finally, using the polyfill tool on those rectangular UVs we just talked about, artists cleanly paint the sclera, iris, and pupil on their own separate layers. And that brings us to Section 5, the final polish. Because every character needs a stage, right? 3D artists use rendering programs like Arnold to set up toon shaders and custom rendering settings. The ultimate goal here is crafting striking environmental vistas that basically invite viewers to explore every single nook and cranny. And just like the characters themselves, these vibrant environments are meticulously designed to serve the larger story. A massive part of achieving that final polish comes down to post-processing, glare nodes in software like Blender 5.1. These nodes simulate how light physically interacts with camera lenses. You've got several types to play with: bloom for soft light scattering, ghosts for overlapping artifacts, streaks, and fog glow. You even have simple star or sunbeams to simulate those beautiful crepuscular rays. You know, that dusty, cinematic light scattering you always see in the movies. Now, simulating physical light takes a massive amount of computing power, so artists are constantly toggling their glare quality settings back and forth. They'll use low quality for the fastest processing while they're just tweaking thresholds and seeing what looks right. Then, when it's time for the final output, they flip the switch over to high quality for full resolution processing, which gets them the absolute best, most realistic highlights possible. And when you combine all of these steps, you get this brilliantly rendered final image. Here we have the character Elio riding a massive, beautifully textured purple alien. I mean, I am genuinely amazed at how far this has come. This single frame is the culmination of 1,000 children's wild concepts, meticulous UV unwrapping, complex subsurface shading nodes, and brilliant cinematic lighting. It's the whole shebang. It's an incredible process that blends art, psychology, and hardcore mathematics into one pipeline. The tools are more accessible than ever, and really, the only limit is your imagination. So, armed with these industry secrets, from a child's simple sketch to a complex digital marvel, what world will you create next? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep creating.